Hey, friends. Today I want to take you into one of the deepest biblical themes that doesn't always get talked about in church, but once you see it, it changes the way you read the whole Bible and the way you see your own life. And that theme is exile. Now, when we hear exile, we might picture the Babylonian captivity or maybe even a punishment for Israel's disobedience. We might picture John on the Isle of Patmos. And while that's true, exile in scripture is much bigger than any one single event. It's a framework, a lens through which the Bible tells the story of God's people. So let's trace it. From the beginning, Adam and Eve were exiled, cast out of Eden because of sin. And that moment sets the tone for all of humanity. We were created for home with God, but because of rebellion, we find ourselves wandering east of Eden. Israel's story repeats that pattern. They're given the land, the covenant, and the temple, signs of home with God. But sin and idolatry lead to exile in Babylon. And even when they return physically, the prophets remind us that they're still waiting for true restoration. Ezra and Nehemiah rebuild the walls, but the glory of God's presence hasn't fully returned. In a very real sense, Israel's still in exile, longing for home. Now, fast forward to the New Testament, Peter writes in 1 Peter 1:1, addressing the believers as exiles of the dispersion. And he's not just talking to Jews scattered from the land, he's calling all believers exiles. Why? Because even when we belong to Yeshua, belong to Jesus, we're not yet home. We live in this tension of the already, but not yet. Paul picks this up in Philippians 3:20 when he says, "Our citizenship is in heaven," meaning we may live in Rome or Corinth or modern day America, but our true home is elsewhere. We are resident aliens, people who live here but don't fully belong here. This is not our home. Exile then becomes the framework for the Christian life. To follow Yeshua, to follow Jesus, is to accept that we are not at home in this world's systems. We live in Babylon, but we do not bow to Babylon. Think about Daniel. He's in exile, working in a pagan court, but he refuses to eat the king's food. He refuses to bow to false gods. He refuses to compromise his identity. That's what faithfulness looks like in exile. And here's the hope: exile isn't forever. The biblical story ends not with us escaping this world, but with God bringing his dwelling place down. Revelation 21, the New Jerusalem. Exile gives way to homecoming. The God who exiled humanity from Eden makes a way back to his presence. So, what does this mean for us? It means when you feel like you don't fit here, that's not failure, that's faith. It means when the culture feels like Babylon, and it often does, we remember that's where God has always shaped his people. It means that our calling isn't to get cozy here, but to stay faithful until home comes to us. Let me leave you with Jeremiah 29, and we often quote verse 11, "I know the plans I have for you." But the whole context of that is exile. God tells his people, build houses, plant gardens, seek the welfare of the city. In other words, live faithfully in exile, but don't confuse Babylon for home. My friend, you are in exile, but you are not abandoned. God's presence goes with his people in exile, and his promise is that one day home will come. So let's live like Daniel, pray like exiles, and fix our eyes on the day when the wilderness gives way to the city of God.